everyone, and welcome to another ProcureTech Wonders. I am so excited to be back here today with Adriano from Creactives. There's a brand new system for us at Wonder Services. I'm looking forward to learning more about it today, and I'm so excited to bring these ProcureTech Wonders to you. As the founder of Wonder Services, we love to bring new technologies to the forefront. It's an ever-changing landscape, and there's actually a lot of innovation coming out of Europe. And so we're happy to bring Creactives to the table today and learn more about them. So with that said, Adriano, are you ready for this today?
Oh, yes, I'm ready. Thank you, Amanda, for having us in your web conferencing system, and a nice opportunity for us to speak to your audience.
Awesome. So the way that this is going to work today, I'm going to have you introduce yourself before we dive in. But then after that, we're going to do 15 minutes of rapid fire questions, which is always a lot of fun to kind of dive into different aspects of what you're providing in the marketplace. And then I'm going to be quiet for a while, which is, I know, surprising for a lot of people, but I'm going to be quiet for 15 minutes while you do a demo of the product that you're offering. And then I will wrap up with 15, 15 would be a lot. Three different things that I loved about what I saw today, and then three different things that I don't quite love yet. So it should be a great time today. So why don't we go ahead and get started with an introduction of yourself?
Well, I'm a civil engineer from many years because I'm 68, 58, 68,
Yeah.
sorry. 68.
Oh,
So I started my career many years ago, as you can imagine, but mostly close to 30 years ago, I started working on consulting services for cost reduction.
okay.
So our former company was a company dedicated to provide consulting services to reduce cost for companies in the manufacturing space, specifically.
Okay.
And the formula at that time was very successful, was a formula based on a success fee, meaning that we were committed to provide a solution to reduce the cost, and by doing that, transform this in real money and share the real money achieved with the client, 50% of the first year. So you can imagine how challenging this would be. And
Yep.
more or less 20 years ago, arrived a very big client for us at that time that was Pirelli, a tire manufacturer that
Yep.
everybody knows that is the Formula One provider and so on so far. And they told us, okay, we want to make a project for MRO parts, so the
Yep.
components that the companies use in the production line to spare parts for the machines and so on. And they gave us at that time a file with 1 million positions of purchase orders of one single year. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
And
Okay.
for those of you that are old enough like me, Excel at that time was able only to manage 67,000 lines. So was absolutely impossible even to open the file to
Right.
know what is
Right.
in there. So it's a problematic thing. And by chance, we found a little startup inside of Verona University working in semantics and natural language processing, plus in-memory solutions. So very technical things that I'm
Right.
currently saying, but a key to open that file and see what is inside. So we decided very quickly to buy that company to incorporate,
Right.
to incorporate the chief technical officer that currently is our chief technical officer in our company, and transform this software that was developing to a software specifically for materials and services managed for in large corporations.
Oh,
And
so
And
Yeah.
the main activity on that part of the story was the key of the today's situation of the company. So we are working in the space of the so-called artificial intelligence since 20 years.
Right. Right. So I knew you were a smart man. I mean, what a smart move all those years ago to buy that company. That's an amazing thing. Awesome
Yeah.
story. Yes. And now you're here today with me to do rapid fire questions and answers. So why don't we go ahead and dive in? I'm going to start my timer. Are you ready for the hot seat?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Go
you've been
ahead.
ready. You've been ready for 20 years now to talk about it. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so your first question, and this is an easy one. I think you were kind of heading down this path too. So, what does Creactives do? And briefly introduce kind of your mission and what stands out about your company.
Yeah. So Creactives is in the space to update the optimization of the data related for procurement. And the data related for procurement are very specific in our opinion. So each procurement function has to have the ability to answer the famous four questions when you see a consumption model of a company.
Yeah,
What I buy, from whom I buy, when and how.
right.
To answer these questions, you need good data. And good data quality means some specific thing in this space is good categorization, granular
Mhm.
categorization, apple with apples, pears with pears, and not mixed categories like vegetables, okay?
Yes, right.
And also identification of the item. So because all the apples are not equal altogether, you have red apples, yellow apples, you can have caliber
Hmm.
4 apple, caliber 5. And if you want to compare price to write the right apple for your apple pie, you need to know exactly which is the apple you need. And identification is a crucial thing. And this is valid for a bearing, a nut bolt, PLC component, or whatever. So you need good data to make this process possible in a good way and to reduce the cost, reduce the inventories and so on. And this is what we do. We provide from the data as is today that is bad, that is cracked, that is poor, etc., the good data that is possible.
I am so, this is going to be an interesting conversation today. I'm reflecting back on some of my time in procurement and when I went out to bid in an MRO category and I thought I had all of my data in order and I sent it out to one of our incumbents and the incumbent came back and they were like, oh, your data is wrong. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's a very critical aspect of what we do in procurement is all based off of data. So tell me a little bit more about why you might be more competitive in the marketplace versus your closest competition. What's unique to you?
Well, one thing that is crucial in this story is that um, when you apply artificial intelligence, specifically supervised artificial intelligence, what you are really doing is to create a model that is a specific model for that company to understand the data of that company. Why is crucial this thing? Because each company has his own jargon.
Yeah,
So not all the things are named in the same way depending on the company. And same words can have different meaning depending on the usage of the word.
right.
So this combination of complexity requires that when you develop an artificial intelligence model, cannot be a large linguistic model like LLM, ChatGPT. Needs to be a specific linguistic model for that company. And what we are very efficient at is to have developed a platform that make possible to create that model in a very short period of time with a quantity of effort from both sides, our side, and especially from the client side,
Hmm.
very reduced. So meaning that instead to take years to develop a
Right.
thing, so we take months, and with the interactions from the client side that are reduced to days. So meaning that this advantage in terms of technology gives us the possibility to face very large projects that today are quite impossible for any other approach. So you can imagine multinational companies with
Yeah.
3, 4 millions of material master data scattered in 8, 9, 10, 11 ERP systems in different languages is a mess.
It
So
is.
get rid of that in a short time period is a real challenging thing that we have developed as a technology in these years, and this gives us a competitive advantage here.
Wow. I've been challenged with the complexities myself, and I see it in my clients too at Wonder. Like you're absolutely right. Like the massive amounts of data and the differences of the systems, different data definitions, and then you get into like the MRO categories where you actually go to the crib, the MRO storeroom, and you're like, well, it says that it's X and it's actually Y, and so it is an extremely complex space. All right. So, question number three, and we have 10 minutes left, so we're doing great on time. So, question number three is, who is your target market, and explain the specific challenges that you're solving for that target.
Well, the target market is obviously you mentioned, and you can imagine all those companies has massive material master data.
Yeah.
And you can have massive material master data in many type of industries. So you can have massive master data because you are a process manufacturing.
Yep.
So, or you are in the oil and gas industry, or you are in the power production industry, and normally the massive part of the story is related with spare parts. So if you imagine that
Yes.
a single gas turbine can have 10,000 parts. So to give you a number, okay?
Right.
In the other side, there are other kind of companies that has massive material master data, but for the production of a product. So you
Mm-hmm.
have companies that produce complex machines, and inside of each machines, they put an enormous quantity of components. Most of them are bought from external companies. So they do
Yes.
not produce the component itself. They assemble the components to produce the large machine. But nevertheless, those companies are interested too, because they need to reduce the complexity, they need to reduce the variances, especially in the moment of the design of the machine. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have a cleansed, harmonized master data, you can reduce the complexity, you can maximize the reusage of parts. Okay,
Yep.
so you can connect our system to the PLM, not only to the ERP. Okay, and this gives us the possibility to provide a single version of the truth in the engineering part of the story, in the procurement part of the story, in the maintenance part of the story, are all
Yeah.
activities that are streamlined with good data.
Yeah. The heart of it all, the good data. Like it drives everything, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just, I love that. I love that. So one quick question, this is not on the script, but I'm curious. Do you focus, you've been talking a lot about materials. Do you also do similar activities for vendor, or is it focused on materials?
No, we are focused on materials.
Okay.
Why? Because in the vendor space, there are a lot of companies that are doing the job. If you look at
Yeah.
the Epstein, you
Yes.
probably know
She's
the
a great friend.
Epstein
Yes.
spider mark.
Yes.
In the core of the spider chart, there is the data foundation. Okay,
Yes.
and in the data foundation are named 5 companies.
Hmm.
Uh, Creactive is there, and
Yep.
is the only one that is focused on material and
Material.
service master data. The rest are focused on vendors master data.
Yeah.
So, and the reason is that the complexity of material is by far greater than the complexity in the vendor side. Okay,
Yes.
and this is why I have required this such a long, I would say, story to perfection our technology.
Yeah. No, I've been asking some of those providers that focus on vendor to do materials because it's been such a challenge. So I'm glad that we're meeting today and that you're focusing in that area. So your next question is, how do you price with your clients? I'm not looking for a price, but like if I'm looking to get a price from you, what are the different factors that you consider?
Well, the driver is the quantity of data.
Okay.
So, and the quality of the meaning. So, for example, if I have to set up the process I said before, the AI training, and then also the management of the governing of the material master data, because you need to have in the same time the possibility to get clean and stay clean in the data. Okay, so
You're right.
meaning that the price is driven mostly by the volume of data, not by the head count. So we provide a corporate solution with not limited quantity of users, but the price is driven by the quantity of materials that we need to manage inside of the system, the
Hmm.
quantity of languages that are used inside of the data, and the quantities of ERPs that are connected
Okay.
or other systems.
Right.
So
Okay.
drivers that are more related with the architecture, I would say, of the current situation than the end users. That can be endless. So you can have 1,000 users,
Perfect.
we don't care.
Okay. Oh, I love that. All right. So 'cause that's been such a limiting factor on so many of these solutions is because they do it by user. So really love that approach. Okay. So why should we be excited about where you're going? Can you give us a little bit of like a crystal ball of what's coming up next for you all?
Well, the evolution of these processes is that when you think about the incumbent of the ERP that is SAP, as you well know, and
Yeah.
especially SAP is the most important incumbent for the target market we have. So we are addressing problems that are related with large multinational companies,
Yeah.
meaning companies that are over 1 billion or better over 5 billion of turnover.
Yeah.
Okay. And though in those companies, I don't know, I can put a number, but 80% probably, in my experience, even more, 90% are running SAP. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
And as you know, SAP is in the process to push the migration from the former ECC version to the new SAP
That's for
HANA
Hannah.
version.
Mm-hmm.
And what we are doing is to, I would say, produce a even more powerful solution to integrate the, um, the activities that SAP can not deliver, and we are able to deliver in the processes related to material master data management. So we are a layer that can be on top of SAP HANA, SAP ECC, or altogether, or even a mix with Oracle, I think, and be the single version of the truth on top of whatever architecture you have. And this capability is in the near future even more uh, empowered by other solutions that are coming up.
Okay. Oh, I can't wait to hear more about that. We're gonna have to have you come back on in like 6 months to a year from now and see
Oh
what you
yeah,
guys have cooked up.
happy to do that.
All right. All right. So we have two more questions. I threw in a bonus question, so I'll give you a little bit more time if we need it. But tell us a success story about one of your clients and the value that they've received.
Well, one of the typical use cases with the clients is that when you say that you have duplicates item in the material master data, it
Mhm.
seems that to be an IT problem. And it's not an IT problem.
Right.
Because if you have a duplicate item inside of your ERP, means that you have a physical duplicate item somewhere else.
Right.
Okay. So you have an excess of inventory. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you have an excess of working capital frozen in the warehouses instead of your bank account.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So duplicates item finding is not an IT exercise, is a real CFO concern. So excessive inventory is usage of capital in a non-effective way. So one of the big deals here is how to take advantage in the migration, for example, to SAP HANA, or in putting together all the material master data in a single instance like our
Yeah.
solution can provide, find all those duplicates, okay, and take action how to improve the working capital that is frozen there.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what companies like Enel, for example, Enel is the biggest power production supplier in Europe right now.
Okay.
Has a large operation also in US
Yeah.
uh, with renewables and so on. So far, is a company that today is 90 billion, more or less, of sales. And for example, they have dramatically reduced the material master data they manage at the beginning of this process and what they are doing now. And so you can imagine how efficient could be a system that not only provide you what is already duplicated, but prevent you to create new duplicates
Right.
real time every day.
Okay. Oh, I love that. Okay. So we have just about a little bit like 2 minutes-ish. I'm going to give you a little extra time to answer this last question because I threw you a bonus. All right. Tell us what the most common mistake leaders make when they are deploying a solution like yours. We always like to learn in advance.
Well, uh, I suppose that one of the things that some leaders does not, I would say, evaluate correctly is the
Mhm.
change, the profound change management that a system like this implies.
Yeah.
So the value realization is not only related with the correct implementation from the IT perspective, the connections, the buttons are working, and things like that. But you are really changing the way the people are working today from a new
Hmm.
way of work. So
Yep.
artificial intelligence, for example, most of the companies in the past try to put a government on the material master data evolution. They have created central teams to
Yes.
govern the creation of material master data. Okay, so was a total the responsibilization of the requisitioner that started the process to provide that information, and the central team has only the headache to understand what this guy wants. Okay, an additional headache to understand if that he wants is already present or yes or no. And the system, as is in this way, has been so inefficient that we have the today problems. Otherwise, we
Yep.
have no room for have a business. Okay,
Right. Right.
so is a bottleneck that has been proven as totally inefficient.
Yes. Right.
Okay,
And not a value add.
no value added, only a
Right.
cost added, nothing
Right.
else.
Right.
So if you take this and you say, okay, now I have a system with artificial intelligence incorporated inside that is able to tell to my requisitioner at the beginning of the story that that item that he's trying to look in already exists, is
Yeah.
somewhere active, and you can reuse it. And in the case doesn't exist, drives him to create it properly.
Right. Yep.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so this change could completely the way of work of the requisitioner. Probably has to that you have to rethink your central team about
Yes.
that. Or more added value as activities. For example, how I can apply a policy to reduce the diversity of my suppliers. Now I have time to do that, and I
Yes.
have people that uh, are well skilled, and probably this is a value added thing. So how I redefine the safety stocks, now I know that I have excess of inventories.
Right. Or redeploy that team to help reduce the working capital tied up in your inventory.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Yes.
So it's a change management thing. So value
Yeah.
realization is a change management thing, and it's important leaders embrace this thing, providing the strong support of the team to make this change.
Okay.
Otherwise, the people will be obviously comfortable in the way they are working with, and that's it. But they will not get what they are looking for.
Okay. Well, Wonder Services, that's what we focus on is change adoption services. So we hear you. We totally understand that challenge. It's why I started Wonder Services 6 years ago. So, all right. Well, you are officially off the hot seat. Congratulations. We did go a little bit over time, but I threw in an extra question. So we are going to go into the 15-minute demo.
Okay.
So I will allow you to kind of pull up your screens here. I will also mute myself, take myself off of camera so it can be a focused demo on what you want to share today.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I share the screen. Yes.
It's not, yeah, it's not sharing at this moment in time, though.
Okay. Do you see my
There it
screen?
goes. Yes, I can see it right now. Okay. I am going to go ahead and start our 15 minutes, and I will see you at the end.
Okay. Thank you. So as we have said till now, our goal is to produce data quality as a data foundation as a non-negotiable prerequisite for supply chain and procurement initiatives. We are doing this job from a very long time. As you can see here, all those companies that are belonging from very different industries, they have always the same problem. Okay, and the same problem, and the way that artificial intelligence can solve it is shown in this very basic example: how AI transforms poor data in actionable data. So the situation is like this. So these are original material descriptions that are belonging to different ERP code and maybe different ERPs at all. So this is a very common situation where you have this kind of information. What artificial intelligence does with this information can understand that they are all socket screw, even if they are written in very different ways. The categorization could be UNSPSC as a standard, could be a custom taxonomy, could be other E-class, for example, taxonomies. We don't care. We are able to do in whatever taxonomy the clients want. But not only that, because socket screw is a category, but these three things are really the same thing because they share the same technical values. So they all following the norm DIN 912. They all follow, they all have a diameter of 12 millimeters. They have the same length of 210 and the same class of resistance 8.8. So what artificial intelligence did in this case is to transform unstructured information like the ones you have seen here in the three examples in a perfect structured information. And what you can do with this? You can create a golden record. So you can create a single version of the truth. And as you can imagine, this is a enabler for a lot of business initiatives like cost savings, migration to SAP HANA, digital sourcing, stock reduction. All these business initiatives require foundational data. So this is the concept here. What we need now is to show you practically in the application how it works. So this is our application called TAM. TAM means Technical Attribute Management System, and it's connected to 1, 3, 4, 11, 20 different ERPs, being a structure on top of your current architecture of ERPs. So suppose that all the data in the material master data that has been uploaded here, okay, and artificial intelligence has been trained to understand in full what is written there. So the first thing that I can see is all the data uploaded and categorized. In this case, as I said, following UNSPSC, but can be other taxonomies. And obviously, I can surf inside of this category. So I see here the first level, where I see the stock, the consumption, the ordered quantities, and the quantity of material master data related. But I can drill down and, for example, I don't know, for example, see electronic component, see that I have the following category that is automation control device, and I see the following category that is programmable logic controllers and the controllers module. And here in the leaf of the taxonomy, so the most granular categorization, I know how much I have in stock, how much materials I have, and also the distribution of in the different countries, the consumption, the order. So I have a global vision about my footprint, global at a very detailed level. So I have a full understanding about my current material how are distributed, how are categorized. So this is the first value, the capacity to show and to understand and to serve the whole material master data you have around the world in a single place easily. Second part of the story is obviously that the artificial intelligence is able to understand, starting from the data as is, which are the possible duplicates you have inside of this material. So, for example, the system has found many thousands of materials that are practically considered equal between them, and they show it in me in that way. So groups of materials that are belonging to the same category, and they share the same technical attributes. For example, if I analyze this group here, you see these are different material groups, different material numbers, sorry, coming probably from different ERPs, and they have different descriptions. This is one description, this is another one description, this is another description, and so on and so forth. But they are all memory module cards. They are all produced by IBM, and they have the same code. So the system is practically sure that all these 5 items are equal between them, so I can mark as duplicates. So it's a perfect duplication. I choose this material as the golden record, and by confirming the selection, the rest of the materials will be slaves of that golden record. And I can make substitutions in my system, or I can make connections, etc. This is another part of the story that is belonging to the specific implementation. But if you need to find 5 items like this within 3 million of items, this is a hard exercise. And this exercise is shortcutted totally by the artificial intelligence that provide you the group with practically no effort. The other part of the story is related with the smart creation. So it's not about only get clean, but also stay clean. So you need to have a system that is able to provide immediately the possibility to understand if you are creating a new duplicate inside of your material master data. So the idea here is that artificial intelligence can analyze in whatever language what you are trying to do. So for example, suppose that I'm a French guy or I'm a Canadian guy that is writing Jean Toric 16 per 2 NBR. Okay, I wrote with no specific way of writing. In free text, I search, and the artificial intelligence analyzes this piece of text and tells me that is an O-ring gasket, and the technical sheet of that O-ring gasket is here, and the 16 has been recognized as the internal diameter, NBR has been recognized as a seal material, shore hardness is not present, the thickness is 2, and the 20 is the external diameter calculated by the system. But what happens if in the same model, in the same moment, sorry, I clear this, and there is another person in another place speaking English that write in another way, so O-ring without the space, they put NBR in capital letters, they put 16 without the space, X in minus 2, and put a value of the shore hardness here. So complete different ways to write down the same thing in another language. What happened here? Artificial intelligence analyze it and provide me exactly the same result with an additional information of the shore hardness that I wrote here and has been recognized here. But what happened if instead of 70, I wrote 700 and I search again? 700 is not admissible value. So the artificial intelligence knows that 700 means nothing. And so artificial intelligence doesn't capture this value as a feasible value, but 70, yes. So if I continue this process, artificial intelligence can bring to the table also a normalized description in whatever language. So I have a beautiful short description and long description in English, but I also have a beautiful description in Spanish or in Chinese or in Japanese or in Russian or whatever language you want. So this capability to provide something that is quite complicated to deliver by humans in seconds is an enabler to democratize the process to create and to manage material master data. So are you sure, you're sure in that sense that you are doing well? There are many other things that are possible with the system, obviously. For example, when you find out that you have described this material in the way here, I have immediately here a quantity of possible duplicates or items that are close to. So I can decide, for example, if I am an engineer and I want to use this material for a new product, maybe in that phase I can reuse this one. And I can click and see, for example, that this item that already exists, okay, is an item that is present where? Oh, it's present in two plants. I have the reorder point, the stock level, the safety stock. I know everything about this material here, okay? And I can decide that I want this material as instead to create a new material. So I can reuse this material, and I left this material back. Another interesting part of the story is related with the fact that many times, especially process manufacturing companies, they buy machines or they buy a new plant or you have merger and acquisition. And the problem is that materials, master data, they do not arrive one by one. You have a new turbine that arrives with a typical list of spare parts, maybe 1,000 material master data. You can bulk upload them here, and the system will analyze in the same way I'm showing here, line by line, providing back which possibly are duplicate items and which are not, and create a new item only for those that are not duplicate. So get clean and stay clean are not two separate activities, are two activities that are all together always. There are many other parts of the story, but this is the most important information that I can provide you in this short demo.
All right. That was amazing. I'm over here taking notes. Trying to keep up this. I love what you just said about not only identifying opportunities to cleanse your data, but to keep it clean, and they go hand in hand, right?
Yes.
There's been such a disconnect for so long. We go through these cleansing efforts, and then we tried to put governance in place, but then 6 months later, all of a sudden, it needs cleansed again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And make no sense because there are another part of the story that is related with the fact that a part of the materials that the client already has is poor.
Right.
So you can have a situation where you have only a like motor. Well,
Yeah.
motor, what is a motor? Yeah, I know, it could be whatever thing. So you need to have the capability to understand what are the missing information you need to complete. So artificial intelligence can tell you not only what artificial intelligence has understood about the available information,
Yeah.
but can tell you what is missing. And this is particularly valuable because when I need to enrich a material, and this is only possible going in the field, because if there is no information inside of the IT system, I need to go to the
See
warehouse
it.
and to collect the information. But
Yep.
instead to send someone in the middle of the warehouse trying to find out what he has to collect, you have a system that tells you exactly which is the missing information you need to collect. And by
Yep.
the way, as I showed in the short harness thing, the system will control that you are uploading an admissible value and you are not
Yeah.
uploading a wrong value. So the enrichment is also, again, efficient by I would say rutely efficient. I don't know if it's in English possible to say that.
I love that. I was just thinking about my days in the MRO space where we were doing crib crawls. Luckily, I didn't have to do the crib crawls. There was a team of people out at each of the locations doing the crib crawls, but that would have been such valuable insight to have. So you know exactly what you're looking for on each and every item. I can only imagine that the manufacturer part number is critical to what, like the duplicate analysis that we just saw. Having that manufacturer part number is probably a critical attribute that you lean on in the database.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the interest part of the manufacturer name and the manufacturer part number
Yeah.
is that if you are able to capture this new information to normalize it, okay,
Hmm.
you can have an additional thing that you can exploit in a spending visibility tool. So the tool I have showed is a material master data management system. But
Yes.
if you think about spend visibility, so instead to process material master data, you need to process purchase order and invoices. But
Yep.
if you have the ability to capture the manufacturer name and the manufacturer code, you are able to provide a visibility about your supply chain, how the prices, the unit prices are varying, who are the distributors that are providing you the best prices, when and how. So the famous questions that I said at the beginning,
Yes.
what I'm buying, from whom I'm buying, when and how, have a full answer.
Okay, awesome. Well, I am so glad that we were able to chat today and share this with my network, what you're doing with Creatives. It is, I'm over here trying to think of three things that I don't like yet. So I don't know, I'm gonna struggle with that. So we're going to say goodbye to you. So thank you again. And then I'm going to go into three things that I love and maybe three things that I don't like yet. All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you
Uh,
for having me. Ciao.
yeah,
Have a
you're
good day.
welcome. Yes. Okay, you want to just click leave and then we'll go from there.
Okay. What I have to do?
Up at the top, there's like a red button that says leave.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ciao.
Okay, ciao. All right. Like I said, I'm over here struggling with three things that I don't love yet. I might come up with one, so this might be a really bizarre thing where I don't come up with three, but I was just daydreaming about my days of when we were migrating to SAP ECC, and all of what you saw was manual. I mean, we were going through, one of the companies I work for had 53 different ERP systems, and we were going to one instance of SAP, and it was just so much work to get your arms around the material master. So, really, really loved what I saw today. So, three things that I love, I have these nailed. So, I love that it layers across systems. So, whether you have one ERP or 25 ERPs, it can layer across that system. It can layer across other systems to gather all of the insights and give you one source of truth for your material master. I've been dreaming for this for a long time in procurement. So it becomes your source of truth for material master. It's just a game changer. Um, uh, uh, it was mentioned a couple of times. My number two is it cleanses and controls. So, and it's not two separate systems, it's all built into one. So as you're adding, as you are uploading, as you are analyzing, it not only cleanses and enhances, but then also controls your data. So that why are we always cleansing our material master question goes away when you have a system like this. And my goodness, the duplicate query was absolutely fantastic. To be able to do that quickly. Now, I was thinking to myself, and this might blend into what I don't quite love yet, but I think they have the capability because it was mentioned. But like thinking through the process of, okay, I have all of this data in 10 different ERPs, but 50% of them are missing your manufacturer part number. So what is the lift that you have to do to get your data to the point, and doing those crib crawls, going out to the warehouses, having the insights from Creactives is super helpful. But there's still maybe a lift there for some companies to get the data where it needs to be so you can do your duplicate analysis and you can do some of these other things. But when that data is present, you can quickly get to that information. Also loved the language capability, so you could have descriptions in different languages. It was just very, very, very well thought through. Now, I will say I already went through a little bit of what I don't quite love yet, but I think that's not anything to do with what they're doing. It's just thinking through as a practitioner, as someone that's dealing with this data, is what is your approach to actually getting to the point where you have the data in the system so it can run the analytics, and it looked like it would provide you as much as possible systematically, but there still could be some lift there. And so not really necessarily a con, but just something to think through as you are moving forward. The other thing that I always dream of, and I bring this up so often when it comes to these data related technology providers, is that how can we embed this information into the core system? So as an operator, if I'm going in and I am requisitioning something, how am I interacting with this database so that I'm requisitioning off of the correct golden record? Or as I'm transacting, if there's an ability where I can enhance the data and because of insights that are provided from this database, or maybe we have duplicate inventory because we've had duplicate numbers out there. Is there a way for us systematically within the transactional process to maybe instead of purchasing off of one item number that doesn't have inventory, maybe one of those duplicates does have inventory and we can transfer that inventory in? So how do we continue to operationalize this data, I think is key. But man, I was wowed today. So I hope you all were too. Okay, so with that said, thank you for joining us for another ProcureTech Wonders. I am Amanda Prochaska. I love bringing this information to you because the landscape is changing quite a bit. We have so many cool technologies out there that really can enhance the day-to-day, streamline what you've been doing, and getting you access to the data that we've been talking about, our bad data for, well, since I've started in procurement. So if you love these videos, hit subscribe, hit like above. We are happy to bring you more and more of these insightful conversations as we move forward, and we don't want you to miss any of them. So until next time, cheers and have a great day.